Hey guys, it's Trevor, aka Black Eyed Tea, aka Trevor and the Reverend, and Pastor Byron definitely told me not to say that.
Yeah, don't say that.
But I went with the joke. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the Rundown Podcast. My name's Trevor. So excited to be here. I say so excited too much, but it's true. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm joined by my valiant co-host, my dear friend, and most importantly, my lead pastor, Byron Ellis. Byron, how are we doing today?
I am doing a lot better than you are.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Spent all last night hacking up along, but it's
Yeah.
going to be okay. We're going to push through. You know why?
Why?
Because I'm a professional.
You are.
A professional podcaster, even
Yeah.
though I've done like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This is episode 3.
This is episode 2.
Oh, this is 0.
0, 1, 2. Technically our 3rd episode. You're right.
Technically, yeah.
Hey, we're going to go all.
Yeah.
I think we're both right here.
Yeah, we're
That's
here.
fine.
We're here.
Good day though.
It is a good day. It is a good day.
It's raining outside.
It is. We're under a tropical storm here, and so you can see the downpour of rain. You'll probably hear the cars driving by, but you know what? That's just being authentic.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, right? People
Real.
like authentic. So
We keep it real. We keep it
We
real.
do. Esther, my 2-year-old, I rolled over in the morning at it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I roll over, and there's Esther in the bed, and I'm like, and she goes, "Hi, Daddy." I was like, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm scared." And so got to roll over and cuddle with my daughter this morning.
What a
And
wonderful
so,
morning.
Yeah, it was. It
aw.
was. And I knew I wasn't going to go run or go to the gym or anything because, it was just crazy rain. But, woke up, had my coffee, got to spend some time with the family. And here we are now
Ready
recording
to go.
Yep, there we go.
There we go.
So,
all right.
yeah.
Well, hey guys, before we go dive into our sermon, which is Jesus feeds the 4,000
Yes,
today.
not the 5,000,
Not the 5,000.
the 4,000.
There's a difference.
four.
There's actually 2
Yeah,
separate
yeah,
miracles.
Yeah, and
happening.
we're going to dive into that in the rundown in just a little bit.
Right. Before
So-
that, let's go ahead and jump into
No.
a little
How
bit
was Sunday?
of
We want to talk about how awesome Sunday was. Sunday was amazing.
Sunday was amazing.
It
You're
was
right.
incredible.
I think I'm so far removed
Yeah.
from Sunday already.
No.
And look at me. I'm
Look
missing
at
my
that.
miracle.
That's
I'm
right.
forgetting.
Man,
What just
You
happened?
you're such a disciple right now.
I'm sorry.
You're
I forgot the bread.
You're such a disciple.
I forgot the bread.
Yeah,
Guys, let's talk
he
about
did something amazing
how great
Sunday.
Sunday was.
Sunday was incredible. No,
Yes.
man, Sunday was good. It was definitely one that I think that we're all going to look back on for a long time and just remember how good God is and remind ourselves how good God is. Yeah, so Sunday was amazing. How did you think Sunday went?
I think I said it the Sunday before, so it's not going to feel as important. But again, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
Special.
It was special.
Sunday was really special.
It was special. Right before the sermon started, one of the things that in first service, one of the things that God's been really working on me with when it comes to my preaching is being able to call an audible on Sunday mornings, because I used to be so rigid in my sermon preparation and didn't want anything. I was like, okay, I have this down. This is what I'm going to say. This is going to be good. But I think God's been working on like, Byron, okay, it's my service. You work for me, so I get to call the shots now. And so 5 minutes before church started, I felt like God called an audible. And one of the things that I felt like God kind of impressed on me is like, hey, I want for people to write down something I've done for them and then lay that on the altar. So like, here's what's really cool. Sunday, we did it. So I said, okay, well, where's the note cards? So we got some note cards that we use for our community groups.
We're all
and stuff.
scrambling around.
Yeah,
right before
trying
the
to find the
service.
note cards. And one of our deacons, Jimmy, he put a note card under every single chair in the sanctuary. And at the end of the sermon, because the idea was like, hey, we're forgetful, but he is faithful. So write down one instance that God has been faithful. And then I want you to lay that on the altar. So check this out. We have over 200 testimonies of faithfulness that God has done in the lives of the people in our church. And this is it's just so incredible to see. God was faithful and delivered my wife from an addiction. God restored our marriage. He provided for me. Jesus loves me every day, all day long. I mean, just over and over again, just stories of God's faithfulness. Even when things weren't happening fast enough, he met my needs. Even when I wasn't looking, God saved me and also saved so many of the people that I know and that I care about. I mean, it's just testimony after testimony. Just like last week, I got my first energy bill and my meter was never installed. They gave the price of it, and then all of a sudden, God just showed up and met the need inside their life. And so, I mean, it's just powerful stories of how God has been faithful to the people in our church. And we need to figure out somewhere we're going to put these. So if you come into Redemption, you notice we have like little installations all over the building. So we got our simple gospel posters. We got our Life Change Through Jesus wall. We have our lock wall. For every baptism gets one lock, and they get to put it on the fence. Every person gets baptized. And then we have the Keep Showing Up, 3 words to change your life. Come as you are. So we need to figure out something that we're going to do with these. I'm thinking we hang them on the ceiling or something like that. So when you walk into the sanctuary, they're just right there. So you have to look up and remember his faithfulness every single Sunday you come to church.
There's so much more power too. Whenever you make that tangible, you write it down and you look at it, you're like, yeah, we need that reminder.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening to the rundown, or maybe you're watching it on YouTube, hey, a challenge for you to do today is to read Mark 8, 1 through 21, and then get alone with God, and then write one story of God's faithfulness.
That's all it takes.
And then put it on your mirror, put it in the dashboard of your car, put it somewhere that you're going to see it every single day, maybe the refrigerator, wherever it's at. And then every time you go and you look in the mirror, or you go like driving on your commute, getting ready to pray, and you see that reminder of a miracle that God's done in your life. And so every single day you're reminding yourself of his faithfulness. So do me a favor, go ahead and write out on a note card or a sticky note or just a Sharpie on your mirror or whatever it is, and just remind yourself of his faithfulness. So
Sunday, I need to write down, don't forget how good Sunday was.
Yeah.
So you can talk about it on the podcast.
Sunday was amazing. Yes. It was a great day.
A great day. Yep. So before we dive into our sermon, let's go ahead and knock out a few questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a Q&A. This is a good one. This is a juicy one, and I want to get to the bottom of it. 5:30 service this past Sunday. Again, great Sunday. I walk in before the service starts, and I noticed the stage had some fog on it.
Yeah.
And it looked like The Undertaker was at WrestleMania and doing his entrance. There's smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
Not smoke. I guess they call it haze.
Haze.
Yes, our worship leader, Bo, wants me to call it haze.
Haze.
We have a haze machine
We
now.
have a haze machine.
Pastor Byron, how do you feel about the haze machine?
I am for it. Yeah. I'm for it. I was against it for a long time. And they would come in like, we need a haze machine. We need a haze machine. And I want to get a haze machine. I was like, no. And then we got a haze machine. And I'm for it. And here's the reason why. Because our team is for it. And I want to be supportive of our team. And they're excited about it. They're passionate about creating a atmosphere for people to be able to worship. They have amazing gifts. They're great, talented musicians. And so if they're passionate about it, then I'm going to be passionate about it. And so I want to be able to support them and give them, what they need. And so hey, I'm all about it.
Well, hey, that's really, really cool of you. Because initially he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all.
But it's okay.
I hear your point of it.
Yeah.
You're going to give them the freedom.
So 2 things. I think one, first of all, we could have saved some money just getting all the people who vape to sit in the front row. Just like, Shekinah glory. So we could have done that. And then the second thing is the church has changed so much from whenever we originally planted it. I've learned that it's not about me or my preferences, because if I had my preference, we'd be singing hymns.
That's big. Hymns.
Yeah, hymns. You're a new Christian. I don't think you know what hymns are. Right?
A little bit. Those are the oldies, right?
Yeah, those are the oldies.
The classics.
So the classics, yeah. So when we first started the church, we actually had to sing hymns. I told Bo, I was like, there has to be a hymn. And then we played this one song called Lion and the Lamb. I don't know if you guys know that song.
It's a banger.
Lion and the Lamb. And I remember the first time they played it, I was like, oh no, what are they doing? I hate this song. And I was just sitting in the front row seething. And I was just like, oh my God, why are we playing this song? And then I turned around and looked at the congregation, and like every hand is raised. I mean, revival is happening. People are crying. I mean, it's just full on repentance. People are worshiping, bowing down. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Meanwhile, you look like me at my first service.
I know. And that's what I felt. And then I realized that's the Sunday that I realized that, like, hey, if people are connecting with the Lord, and if, there's nothing heretical in the lyrics, and we're able to encourage people to worship, then, hey, you know what? I mean, we could use a banjo or a ukulele, play modern songs, play old songs, whatever it is. If it helps people connect with God, then hey, we'll do whatever it takes short of sin to be able to help them do that. So
if
I'm
you
cool.
play banjo, please sign up for the worship team. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
So,
but hey, at worship night, not only will there be a
haze machine,
but there will also be a ukulele.
Really?
Yeah.
This is news to me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. We have a girl in our youth who's gonna lead a song on the ukulele.
Man. Guys,
So,
do not miss out on worship night. It's coming up September 21st. That's this Saturday. Okay? There's going to be a ukulele there. There's going to be a haze machine.
and baptisms.
And even more importantly than a haze machine, baptisms.
Baptisms
People are going to be able
are
to
going
proclaim
down.
their faith publicly.
Yes.
While we're all worshiping together at the congregation. It's going to be a powerful night.
It's gonna be good.
Super stoked.
It's gonna be good.
Super stoked.
What other sponsor do we have for?
Yeah,
our
this
podcast
episode is
today?
brought to you by no one yet officially, but we have more announcements to make.
Yeah.
And that's our Next Steps class
Next
that's
Steps.
coming up September 28th.
Yep.
So if you're a new member to Redemption and you want to get connected more, or you've been coming for a while and you just haven't gotten to take our Next Steps class, this is your chance to jump on in the quick, hour-long class.
Yeah, and we feed you.
We feed you. We take care of your kids. There's childcare
Yeah.
provided. And this is going to give you a chance to ask us questions about our vision, who we
Yeah.
are as a church, and we get to learn more about you.
Yeah.
So don't miss out on that. It's going to be really, really good. I always love our Next Steps class.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hey, if you would like to follow us as a church, you can follow us on Instagram at Redemption BMT, or you can go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Redemption BMT as
And guys,
well.
remember,
So,
if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, and by us, again, I mean Pastor Byron,
Yeah.
email us at hello@redemptiontx.com, and we'd love to get down with those questions,
Yep.
give you what we got.
that's right. And y'all can ask Trevor questions. I mean, he's a very nice guy. You can ask him questions. So,
Like, ask me how long it's going to take to get our animated bear to
Yeah.
pop up and have announcements and say stuff.
yeah, I don't think we have the budget for that still.
But we have the haze machine, so that's
Yeah.
what matters.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and get into the rundown.
The rundown.
We're running it down. We're
Yeah.
going into the sermon, going beyond the sermon, what we have. What happened this past Sunday? Jesus feeds the 4,000.
Yep.
So, to get started, what are some things I noticed during our prep? During
Right.
your prep, writing the sermon, again, I have the privilege to kind of be behind the scenes and see how Pastor Byron's mad scientist
Brain
tactics
works.
work. Yeah, how your brain works. And the whole process is it's intense, right? There's a lot of wrestling with the word.
Yeah.
A lot of things change. What were some big things that changed in the beginning of writing the sermon and how it actually ended up on stage?
Well, if you're in a community group at our church, what I do is about 3 months before the series starts, I create the curriculum for the community group. So I'm reading through the text. I know where we're going. That's one of the beauties of expositional preaching, because like I have the section that we're going to be going through. And so I'm, praying through it, prepping, reading ahead. So I build out the curriculum. And if you're in our community group, you might notice that the actual curriculum, the sermon title says Jesus Misunderstood, because my original idea was I was going to be talking about how people misunderstand who Jesus is. So as you're looking through the text that we studied, 8:1 through 21, there's like 3 different people. There's the crowds, there's the Pharisees, and then there's the disciples. And each are major characters in Mark's gospel. It's like every story, those are the 3 people that show up. It's either the crowd, the Pharisees, or it's the disciples. Yeah. So they see Jesus every single day, but they still don't know who he is. Right. So I was going to open up with like a Q-tip or a can opener or some everyday object that people use, but they don't really understand. And so that was my original idea.
Right.
So going into it, I was like, this is what we're going to do. But as I began diving into the text, even on a deeper level, I realized that that while that's an idea that is presented in the text, the big idea is that Jesus is trying to reveal himself to the disciples, that the miracle wasn't the feeding of the 4,000. The miracle is actually that Jesus was with them during all of those things. So most people, they miss their miracle, which is kind of the big idea, because Jesus has to do the miracle again. Right. Like you read
He just fed 5,000.
He just fed in chapter 6, 5,000 people. And that's the story that really gets the most attention. Mm-hmm. So if you're,
it's a bigger number.
It's a bigger number, yeah. And what's interesting is that in Mark 6, where it says he fed 5,000, it said he fed 5,000 men. So that doesn't include women and children. So men plus women and children could have been upwards of 25,000 people who were there in that area. But here in Mark 8, it doesn't say men, it says people. So 4,000 was the total number.
Right.
So you're looking at 20,000 compared to 4,000. Most people would preach the 5,000. We had one woman in our church, she was like, didn't we already do this before? She started coming during last season of Mark, and Jesus fed the 5,000. And then so this week, we're doing Jesus feeds the 4,000, and she was like,
haven't we been here before?
Deja vu. So
did you guys forget?
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. They did forget. The disciples forgot what Jesus did in chapter 6. So he has to do it again. So I said in that first sermon, which was called Jesus Feeds the 5,000, I said, if I were to preach this text again, I would call it How to Make a Miracle, because Jesus gave us 5 ingredients.
Your clever tagline.
Yeah, that was my clever.
And it's fitting.
Jesus gave us 5 ingredients to make a miracle. Well, here we are in chapter 8. It's the same miracle, but there's a different reason he has to do this miracle. And so I would call this one How to Miss a Miracle, because they missed it the first time. So Jesus brings them all the way back around, and then he does it one more time because he wants them to see not just a miracle, but he wants them to see that he is the Messiah.
Once you hit on that point, that the importance of him feeding the 4,000 was actually to remind them that they had already forgotten. So he needed to remind them of the miracles he was already doing, even though they were so close. Literally, they're, like you said, proximity, right? They're right there the whole time. They had already forgotten. Their faith was not strong.
Yeah.
Doubts were already starting to creep up. And they're panicking again, even though he just fed the 5,000.
Yeah. What's interesting is if you go back and you read Mark 6, whenever Jesus walks on the water, they say, who is this man who, can do these things? And then in Mark 6, Mark actually writes, because they still did not understand the miracle of the loaves.
Right.
And so even back in Mark 6, they're still clueless right after the miracle. So then he has to do it one more time. But how many times in our lives do we come to Jesus for what he can do instead of just for who he is?
And how many times do we forget what he's already done?
Yeah.
And we find ourselves back in the same rut, we're going through some turmoil, and instantly we forget what God's already provided for us. And we have that security already.
Yeah.
I really like
that. But what's
point.
crazy is that every miracle actually has something else working behind the scenes. So what I mean by that is, like in this text right here, when Jesus feeds these people, like Mark is just this brilliant writer, the way he sets it up. First, this is what's known as a Markan sandwich, which is unique to Mark. And I think it's pretty brilliant that Mark would use a Markan sandwich in a story about bread. And so there's actually 3 stories that are taking place in this text, 1 through 21. There's the story of the feeding of the 4,000, and then there's the Pharisees, and then there's the disciples in the boat arguing about bread. So you have, bread, you have Pharisees, and then you have bread again. So it's a perfect Markan sandwich. But what's fascinating about the difference between the 5 and the 4,000 is that in 6, the 5 takes place in Galilee, which is a Jewish territory. And how many baskets are left over? 12. Okay, so now we're in the Gentile territory, in the Gentile ministry of Jesus. And how many baskets are left over? 7. Okay, and here's the reason why. Is because the 12 represents the 12 tribes of Israel, and they're a Jewish region. But here, if you think back into the book of Genesis, there were 7 Gentile nations, and the region of the Decapolis was in the Old Testament known as the land of 7. So Jesus gives 12 for the 12 tribes. He gives 7 for the 7 Gentile nations. And basically what Jesus is trying to show them, and that's why he says, do you not yet understand, is that I am more than a miracle.
Right.
I am the Messiah, the Savior of the world for Jews and Gentiles and everybody. I love to be able to take care of the needs of the people. And that's the miracle that's happening behind the scenes.
It's not what I'm doing, it's who I am.
Yes. That's so good. But how often do we go to God for what he can do, and then we miss out on the miracle because...
I think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves even doing what the Pharisees wanted to do, trying to test God, right?
Yeah.
Testing God.
Yeah. I remember I was just, as I was working through the text, I was just praying, and I was like, man, you know what? I have been a Pharisee a lot in my life. And we normally think of the Pharisees as, they're just the ones who, really hardcore fundamentalist.
All mental, no fun.
Yeah, that's kind of how we think about the Pharisees. They're the rule makers, the rule keepers.
Very
they're the
condemning.
ones who are just judgmental over everybody. But there's another aspect to the Pharisees that Jesus actually points out in here, is that they test God. They say, okay, I will believe in you if you do this.
They're demanding a sign.
Yeah, they're demanding a sign. So that was one of the points. Is it says the Pharisees came in and began to argue with them, seeking a sign from heaven. And then Jesus says, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly, I say to you, no sign will be given. He gets in the boat and then he's gone. So I was thinking through how many times I've demanded God to obey me.
Right.
That's basically what the Pharisees are doing. They're like, here's what Jesus has to do in order for me to believe. So I was just thinking, man, how many times have I said, God, I'll trust you if you do this, that I will follow you if you obey me.
We've all been there. Of course.
I remember just a funny story. I remember I played baseball in high school and I was a pitcher and I wasn't really good. And I had given up like 6 runs in the 3rd inning and I had two outs and I'm like, okay, if you can just get me out of this inning. And then I walked the next batter and I was like, if you can just get me out of this inning, God, I'm praying on the pitcher's mound, get me out of this inning. And then I walked the next batter and then I was like, okay, God, I will do anything if you just let me strike this person out. I'll stop looking at porn if you just let me strike this person out. And so I'm bartering with God saying, if you do this, then I'll do this. That's exactly the heart of a Pharisee. That their hearts in the story were so hard towards Jesus. They said, I'll believe in you if. And man, that's a really dangerous place to be.
It's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
And it comes off as a funny story. But again, I think a lot of young men, I think a lot of dudes have dealt with that before.
Yeah.
Where now we're demanding the sign. We're trying to sacrifice this sin that we have as if that's how it works.
Yeah. God doesn't want you to test him. He wants you to trust him. And so if you trust him, man, he's going to provide for you. I think that for the Pharisees, if they would have came to Jesus with questions instead of questioning, man, I think that Jesus would have sat down with them and said, okay, let me explain to you the scriptures. Let me explain to you these things. Let me spend some time with you. I think that the heart was in the wrong place for the Pharisees if they would have had questions, because it's cool to have questions. Like everybody has questions, and
he's willing to answer.
He's willing to answer. I mean, if you will, cleanse me, if you will help me, are you willing? Jesus says, I am. People come and sit down with Jesus. Are you the Savior? Are you the Messiah? Are you the one? John the Baptist had questions. John the Baptist sent his followers and said, go ask Jesus if he is the one we're looking for, or should we look for someone else? And then Jesus, he was able to answer. I mean, even if John the Baptist, the greatest man who ever lived, had questions. It's okay to have questions.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to be questioning.
Right.
They came because they wanted to argue, and that's a dangerous.
They weren't asking questions, they were questioning God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And there's a sort of sympathy that we should have for the Pharisees.
Whenever you hit this point on Sunday, I think it really kind of gave me a good old gut punch.
Yeah.
Because I realized for the first time, I've always put these Pharisees on a pedestal of these are the bad guys, right? Because they're very, confrontational with Jesus throughout the entire story. It's easy to not like them, you know. But once you made the point that this was kind of the final straw where they lost Jesus, for the first time I felt sympathy for the Pharisees.
Because he gets in the boat, and then he leaves.
But he keeps meeting with them before.
And we never see the Pharisees after this in Mark. Yeah. I think this is the last time we meet the Pharisees.
Right. Maybe until the crucifixion. Yeah. And I felt bad for the Pharisees. And then now it puts me in a spot where I realize I can be a little Pharisee myself. A lot more often than I'd like to admit in my life. So we shouldn't come from a place reading this, of just pure hatred or malice. That's never the answer, right? I felt genuine sympathy for this final straw that Jesus kind of had to make.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Jesus goes to the Pharisees over and over and over and over 12 times so far in Mark. Jesus enters in these conflicts with the Pharisees. Now, why does Jesus do this? Because I believe that Jesus really loved the Pharisees. He hated their religion and the way they
stood for.
And how they were hurting other people. But I believe he wants everyone to be saved, Jews and Gentiles. I believe he even had those hard-hearted people, like he kept going back to them saying, okay, here I am. Do you understand yet? Do you get it yet? Do you know who I am? And he was giving them every chance and every opportunity. But man, they demanded a sign.
And you look on the flip side, the disciples weren't demanding a sign necessarily, but they were close proximity with Jesus the whole time. In the boat, Jesus kind of had to have the same conversation. do you not understand?
Yeah.
Still, because they're flipping out about bread.
That's why he says here, he says, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, because the leaven is the unbelief. And even at that moment, the disciples, they still did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah.
They're still worrying about bread.
Yeah, they're still worrying about bread. I mean, chapter by chapter, he has proven himself faithful. In the first section of it, he provides a miracle. And then in the next section, they have one loaf of bread and they're like, oh God, he's not going to do it. He can't provide for us. He can't meet our needs. We don't have anything. And it's still this unbelief that's in them, that the crowd can know what Jesus does, but they don't know who he is.
Right.
The Pharisees can know what Jesus does, but they don't know who he is. And then even the disciples who've been sitting with Jesus for 2.5 years, they've seen all of his ministry, all of his miracles, all of his teachings, and they know what Jesus does, but they don't yet know who he is.
Right.
What a beautiful and terrifying picture of all of our lives.
Right. It's a terribly relatable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
What I mean? That's why it's important for us to reflect on this and to go back to this.
For sure.
We miss our miracle way too often.
Yeah.
I think, the Pharisees did it, the disciples did it, the people do it, So it's a good, that's why Sunday was so powerful for me. When we wrote down on the note card, what are you grateful for?
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a really, really encouraging message. I felt very blessed by it.
Yeah.
I felt very encouraged by it. And I hope you guys did too.
Yeah.
Hey, if you haven't listened to it yet, go on our Redemption Church podcast feed, iTunes feed.
Website, Redemption
Go check it out.
TX.
It's on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And give it a listen, okay?
Yeah.
You will not regret it.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's go ahead as we're winding down.
Yeah.
Jump into
We're winding down on the rundown.
We're running it down on the wind down.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes. I'm sorry. So let's get into our book of the week. Pastor Byron, what do you got for us this week?
Hey, I actually just started reading this book. It's really good. It's called Steal Away Home by Matt Carter and Aaron Ivey. They're the pastors and at Austin Stone Community Church in Austin, Texas. This book is really good. It's called Steal Away Home. It's about Charles Spurgeon and Thomas Johnson. Charles Spurgeon, as some of you guys might know, if you're not familiar, go check him out. He's amazing. He was legend. He was known as the Prince of Preachers. Had the first megachurch in London called the Metropolitan Tabernacle. Really, really profound pastor and important person in the Christian faith. And then he became friends with a man named Thomas Johnson, who was a freed slave who became a missionary. And this book is a biography of their friendship. And it, builds back and forth from letters, chronicling their ministry. The last section, last chapter called When the Fog Lifts, it talks about Spurgeon's depression and how Thomas Johnson was there for him at the end of his life. I mean, it's a really moving story about a man who has made a profound impact in the Christian faith. It really just lets us know that preachers are people. And man, it's a beautiful, beautiful testimony. Yeah, it's a beautiful story of friendship. And so I highly, highly recommend
Hey,
this
I can't
book.
wait to dive in. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys, we're winding down the rundown, right? I think, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Even if you don't like us, just click the little adorable like button that's in the corner. That'd be great for us. And we will see you next week. Grace.
Peace out.